I'd like to thank however I got here in this chair to do this interview, to be in the Hall of Fame. I owe the biggest thanks to, because it is without a doubt one of the most special honors that I have ever been part of, and it just means so much to me. I have to thank my family for putting up with all the craziness that being a chef and a restaurateur involves. So, the kids and my children having to tolerate that, and my lovely wife, that I cannot thank them enough. The fact that they had to put up with me all these years. Being inducted to the East High Hall of Fame, it's probably one of the biggest honors I've ever received. I would walk by that hallway with the faces there and just think, wow, these guys, they were East Siders, East High School. They went to East High School, and that always gives you hope, because we didn't grow up in the fanciest houses. We weren't the richest kids, but I would see that, you can become something. Just because I'm an East Sider, I'm a poor East Side kid, doesn't mean I can't become something. And that was probably probably one of the greatest phone calls I'd ever received, was that I was going to be in the Hall of Fame. My experience at East High School and my fondest memories, I think I always had a great rapport with my teachers, and I knew I wasn't going to be a straight A student. That was not going to happen, but I would strive for the comments to be pleasure to have in class, and I got straight pleasure to have in class one year, and I thought that was like the greatest day of my life, because I just wanted to be. I loved the teachers, and it felt like when they treated you like an adult, if you treated them like an adult, and it was like the big boy grown-up world, and I took to that like that. Mr. Kelly is probably my favorite, although I had lots of favorite teachers, but Mr. Kelly, Ed Kelly, is he was a speech teacher, and I remember him for my final. So I talk with my hands like this. And so I would always give a speech, and I always talk with my hands at the speech. My final speech, he came up behind me and held my arms like this and said, "Okay, we're going to try you to do your speech without your hands," just as a joke. But I still see him every once in a while, and he doesn't seem to age. I don't know what his secret is, but I think I felt like I passed him up. East High shaped who I am. I'm a proud East Sider. I don't know where a lot of people went to school, but most East Siders, it's almost the first thing you learn about an East Sider, an East High graduate, is that they went to East High. With Facebook, it's almost the first thing that I see when somebody friend requests me, that they say they went to East High School, or I meet somebody and they say, I don't know, nobody else says that to me. I went to such and such school, but East Siders and East High School is it's like the proudest. We are something special. My experience at East High School was a very diverse look. So there were people, none of us looked alike. There weren't a lot of Italian American kids. There were a lot of different multicultural students there, and that is something that's always, I've always been fascinated with other cultures and other people and people in general. And so I got a broad respect for other people, other cultures, and with all my restaurants, you can see that I'm very schizophrenic when it comes to that. I have a lot of everything because I love it all. And that diversity at East High School helped shape what I became today. Oh, I think back, and oddly, that's probably not a surprise, is that the lunchroom was a place that I wasn't one of those students that poked fun at the food. I would always just look with interest in the lunchroom. And when I had my foods class when I was a senior in my foods class, I just thought, I didn't know at that time that I wanted to be a chef, but the interest that I had and I just liked talking with the lunch ladies, and I think I'd always ask them questions about what was in stuff, and even back then, why wasn't he telling me this is garbage? Because most everybody's like, oh, they turn their nose at things, but for me, I was fascinated by what they were doing or how they did it and how they did it in such big batches, and so A message I would have for other East High students is that no matter how rough your life gets and how down you get, if you just work really hard and stay focused, you can get things turned around. That sure, things aren't going to go your way your whole life, and they're not going to, but being able to persevere through that and weather the worst days of your life, you can do it. And that's a message I would tell to all young people. For an alumni, I guess the message I would give for my fellow alumni is that I'm always going to be a proud East High graduate, East High school. That to me is always, we'll always share that camaraderie. It is a special thing. I always joke that I don't do any favors in the restaurants for the president could be coming. It doesn't matter who walks through the door, but if somebody says they're from East High School, I try to get them a table quick.
I'll remember that.
A message I would tell my 18-year-old self is that, keep your nose to the grindstone. You're going to go through some of the hardest, roughest things and shake your life to the core, and you're going to make it. And remember that when you've worked as hard as you can possibly go and as you're about ready to drop, that many days that's going to be half your day. And if you can get through the rest of that, knowing just to keep pushing, you'll make it. The restaurant business it's a tough business for sure. And part of the thing I always looked at was I thought, what does Des Moines need? I really honestly thought I was going to graduate from high school and then move away to somewhere more interesting, and then realized quickly that Des Moines is a really interesting place and I love it, that I wanted to stay here, but I did want to bring things that I liked about other cultures, other people, other places here. And so as long as I kept that focus and it wasn't ever really about me, it was about what does Des Moines, what does community, what does this community need? And it's never been about ego. If somebody wants to walk into my restaurant and order something special, completely off the menu, we do it because I don't use the word no. I never learned that word. So that's part of it, is that just to be passionate about what it is, but not in a egotistical way. Just stay focused on what the goal of the restaurants are. And we generally let restaurants figure out what they want to be. We open up a French restaurant or Italian restaurant, and we give them a menu, and then we see what they like and what they don't like. And if they don't like it, I don't say, oh, this is the way it should be. And we never use those words. This is the way we cook it. If you don't like it, we want to make you happy. But we never let that get in the way of our success. I think the biggest part of that is that I want to make sure that it's never about me. Even there's no one of us in the restaurant, and I tell this when I do my orientations, there's not a single person in our organization or in our restaurants that's more important than the other. So we don't have this caste system of the chef is the top or the manager. They're all equal. Actually, if there is one person that's the most important in a restaurant, it's the dishwasher. We treat them like kings, because if you've ever worked in a restaurant without a dishwasher, it's the worst thing ever. So they are the most important. But after that, we're all equals. So there's not this bickering between who's the boss kind of thing. I mean, we set rules and we have goals, and we have to maintain that. But we don't say that I'm the most important. Even when I come to my own restaurants and sit in the restaurant, I want to be treated like everyone else, and I don't want special treatment. I'd rather them save that for somebody else. I grew up with an Italian American home, and my mom made a lot of bread. But I took a trip to Italy with my mom when I was younger, and saw the bread was a lot different there, and they didn't have anything like sliced squishy white bread. It didn't exist there, and I was just fascinated by that. I was like, they have a whole country here that they don't even know what this stuff is. And not that that's garbage. That makes the perfect grilled cheese. But it made me think that I really wanted to do that. And then also when I was growing up, I grew up in my family's home when they moved to Italy. From Italy, it was like their second home when they moved to a place on the south side, and then they moved over to the east side back in the 20s, and they built a wood burning oven, and it wasn't still there, but the shell of it was still there. So you'd see, these ruins, which is, I'm a history guy, which is another thing I love my history classes at East High. But so that history always was like in the back of my mind was, man, I really want to bake bread in one of these wood burning ovens. And then we built one in 1996, and that's what South Union Bakery opened. You wouldn't believe how many recipe notes I have on my phone. And I also have a library that probably has 10,000 books in it. It would fill this entire space with cookbooks just everywhere. So I'm always trying to learn something new. There will never be a day that I grow up or grow old and know everything. But I use a lot of them as reference pieces. So that some of the books, and I love the really old stuff. So the stuff that gets to be a couple of hundred years old, there's recipes in there. I flip through those pages and it's like I don't even know anything about this, and I'm so excited. I'm not a know-it-all, but I love when somebody tells me something that I don't know, and I'm not one of those people who says, oh, I know about that. I'm like, really?
Do you know
Tell me about that.